The Xelthar leadership knew they could not ignore this potential threat. The war signal, as they had interpreted it, was a grave concern. This unknown species had achieved a level of technological sophistication that rivaled their own, a rare and unsettling discovery in the known galaxy. After hours of heated debate, the Council reached a consensus. They would dispatch a small fleet to investigate the source of the signal and make first contact. The mission was delicate, requiring both diplomatic tact and a show of military might, should negotiations fail. The fleet commander, Admiral Xilin, was a seasoned veteran, known for his shrewd strategic mind and unwavering resolve. As his ships approached the coordinates of the mysterious signal, he felt a palpable tension in the air. His officers scanned the system, searching for any signs of advanced weaponry or defenses. "Nothing, sir," reported the sensor officer, her voice betraying a hint of confusion. "The planet appears to be in a state of primitive industrialization. No signs of spacefaring technology or a coordinated global defense network." Selin furrowed his brow, mulling over this unexpected development. "Patch me through to the diplomatic team. I want them ready to make planetfall as soon as we establish orbit." Within the hour, the Xolthar diplomats descended to the surface of the unassuming blue-green planet, their sleek shuttle drawing curious glances from the native population below. As they disembarked, they were met by a group of humans who eyed the alien visitors with a mix of awe and trepidation. "Greetings," said the lead diplomat, Vraloth, in a measured tone. "We come in peace, representatives of the Xolthar Empire. We have detected a signal from your world, one that we have interpreted as a potential declaration of war. We wish to understand the nature of this communication and explore the possibility of peaceful coexistence." The human representatives exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of how to respond. Finally, a tall, gray-haired man stepped forward, clearing his throat nervously. "I'm afraid there has been a misunderstanding," he said. "The signal you detected was not a declaration of war, but rather a routine test of our global communications network. We are a peaceful species, with no intentions of challenging your empire." Vraloth felt a pang of relief, but also a growing sense of unease. If this was indeed a simple misinterpretation, why had the Xolthar been so quick to assume the worst? Were they perhaps too quick to jump to conclusions, too eager to exercise their military might? As the diplomats continued their discussion, attempting to smooth over the misunderstanding, Salen monitored the exchange from the command deck of his flagship. He could not shake the feeling that they had underestimated this primitive world and its inhabitants. Something about the humans, their demeanor, their poise, suggested a hidden strength, a resilience that belied their apparent technological inferiority. Salan's train of thought was interrupted by a frantic report from his sensor officer. "Sir, we're detecting a significant increase in military activity on the planet's surface. It appears the humans are mobilizing their forces in response to our presence." The Admiral's eyes narrowed, his mandibles twitching with tension. "Raise the shields and ready the weapons systems. It seems we may have misjudged the situation." In the tense moments that followed, the fate of both the Xolthar Empire and the human civilization hung in the balance, as the two sides edged ever closer to a confrontation that could change the course of galactic history. The tension on the bridge of the Xolthar flagship was palpable as Admiral Helen closely monitored the unfolding situation on the planet below. His diplomatic team had attempted to defuse the situation, but their efforts were met with growing hostility from the human representatives. "Sir, the humans are continuing to mobilize their military forces," reported the sensor officer, her voice tinged with concern. "Their primitive technology is advancing at an alarming rate. We're detecting the activation of nuclear weapons and the deployment of advanced communications arrays." Salan's mandibles twitched with unease. "Increase the alert status of our ships. Prepare for a potential engagement, but do not initiate any hostile actions. We must try to de-escalate this situation before it spirals out of control." As the Xolthar forces readied themselves, the human leaders convened a hastily called emergency session. Tensions were running high, and the threat of an alien invasion loomed large in their minds. "We cannot allow these Xolthar to simply barge in and dictate the terms of our future," growled General Harrington, a seasoned military commander. "They've already shown their true colors by interpreting our communications as a declaration of war. We must strike first, before they have a chance to attack. President Ellison, a pragmatic and level-headed leader, raised a hand to calm the room. I understand your concerns, General, but we must proceed with caution. These aliens may be technologically superior, but we cannot underestimate the resilience and ingenuity of the human spirit. We've weathered countless challenges throughout our history, and we shall not be cowed by this new threat. The room fell silent as the president's words sank in. Slowly, the tension began to ease, and a newfound determination took hold. Very well, Mr. President, Harrington conceded, his tone softening. We will prepare a demonstration of our capabilities, a show of strength that will hopefully convince these Solfar to reconsider their hostile intentions. Back on the Solfar flagship, Admiral Xelin received a hail from the human diplomats. Their faces were grave, but there was a glimmer of resolve in their eyes. Admiral Xelin, we have a proposal for you, the lead diplomat began, her voice steady. We understand the misunderstanding that has led to this tense standoff, and we wish to avoid a conflict that would be devastating for both our peoples. Instead, we propose a demonstration of our technological and military capabilities to allay your concerns and establish a foundation of mutual understanding. Salin considered the offer, his mandibles twitching in thought. And if we are not satisfied with your demonstration? The diplomat's eyes narrowed. Then we shall have no choice but to defend our world and our people with every ounce of our strength. The admiral nodded slowly, his respect for these humans growing. Very well. We shall witness your demonstration and then determine the appropriate course of action. As the communication ended, Axelin turned to his officers, his expression grim. Prepare the fleet to observe the humans' display, and may the stars guide us, for I fear we may have greatly underestimated the true nature of this species. In the moments that followed, the fate of both the Xolthar Empire and the human civilization hung in the balance, as the two sides prepared to engage in a confrontation that could forever alter the course of galactic history. The air was thick with tension as the Xolthar fleet hovered in orbit, their sleek vessels casting long shadows over the surface of the human homeworld. Admiral Xelin stood on the bridge of his flagship, his mandibles twitching with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. Sir, the human diplomats are ready to begin their demonstration, reported the communications officer. Xelin nodded, his eyes fixed on the view screen. Patch it through. Moments later, the image of the human leaders appeared, their expressions resolute and unwavering. Solthar Fleet, we thank you for your willingness to witness our display, said President Ellison, his voice firm. We hope that through this demonstration, we can allay your concerns and establish a foundation of mutual understanding between our peoples. With a nod, the president signaled to his military commanders, and the skies above Earth began to come alive with activity. Massive aircraft, sleek and powerful, soared through the atmosphere, performing intricate maneuvers and unleashing a dazzling array of ordnance. Salan's eyes widened as he watched the display, his officers shifting uncomfortably beside him. The human weapons were crude, but their sheer destructive power was undeniable. Plumes of fire and smoke erupted across the landscape, shaking the very foundations of the planet. Impressive, the admiral murmured, his tone tinged with both admiration and dread. But surely this is not the extent of their capabilities. As if in response to his unspoken challenge, the skies suddenly darkened, and a series of massive, angular structures rose up from the Earth's surface. Selin recognized them immediately, intercontinental ballistic missiles, capable of delivering devastating nuclear payloads. The Xolthar fleet braced for impact, but to their astonishment, the missiles simply hovered in the air, their warheads primed but not launched. These are but a fraction of our nuclear arsenal, the president's voice echoed through the bridge. We have the power to obliterate your fleet with the push of a button, but we do not wish for war. We seek only peaceful coexistence. Salan's mandibles parted in a mixture of awe and dread. The humans had demonstrated a level of technological prowess and military might that far exceeded the Xolthar's initial assessment. They were not the primitive, unassuming species the fleet had encountered upon their arrival. What is the meaning of this display? The admiral demanded, his voice betraying a hint of trepidation. Why have you shown us this power, if not to threaten us? President Ellison's gaze remained steady, his expression solemn. Admiral, we have shown you this power not to threaten, but to inform. We are a peaceful people, but we will not hesitate to defend our world and our people if provoked. We hope that through this demonstration, you will come to understand the true nature of humanity, our resilience, our ingenuity, and our unwavering resolve. Selen felt a chill run down his spine. These humans were unlike any species that Xulthar had encountered before. Their technological prowess was impressive, but it was their spirit, their determination, that truly unnerved him. "Very well," the Admiral said, his mandibles twitching. "You have made your point. We shall withdraw our forces and return to our own territory. But know this, humans, we shall be watching. And if you ever threaten the Xulthar Empire, we will not hesitate to retaliate with the full force of our might." As the communication channel closed, Selen turned to his officers, his expression grave. "Prepare the fleet for immediate withdrawal. We have severely underestimated these humans, and I fear the consequences of that mistake may haunt us for generations to come." The Xulthar fleet's hasty retreat from the human homeworld sent shockwaves throughout the Empire. Admiral Xilin, once a celebrated military strategist, now faced intense scrutiny and skepticism from his superiors. In the Grand Council chambers of the Xulthar capital, Xilin stood before the assembled leadership, his mandibles twitching with unease. "You are telling us that this primitive species, with their crude weapons and unsophisticated technology, managed to not only defy our diplomatic efforts, but also demonstrate a level of military might that surpassed our own," growled Councillor Velrin, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. Helen nodded, his expression grave. "The humans possess a resilience and ingenuity that we have clearly underestimated. Their weapons, while primitive in design, are nevertheless capable of inflicting catastrophic damage, and their willingness to use them, if provoked, is a testament to their unwavering resolve." The council erupted in a cacophony of protests and heated debates, the Xulthar leadership struggling to come to terms with this startling revelation. "This is unacceptable," hissed Councillor Cortesh, her talons tapping the surface of the council table. "We are the Xulthar Empire, the greatest power in the known galaxy. How dare these humans defy us with such impunity?" Selen raised a clawed hand, silencing the room. "It is precisely because they have defied us that we must now consider our next move with the utmost caution. We cannot afford to underestimate them again." The Admiral's words hung in the air, a heady silence settling over the chamber. Finally, Councillor Velrin spoke, his voice laced with reluctant resignation. "Then what do you propose we do, Xelen? We cannot simply let this insult go unanswered. The reputation of the Xulthar Empire is at stake." Xelen's mandibles twitched as he considered his response. "I believe the wisest course of action is to withdraw our forces and return home. We must study the humans, their technology, and their way of life in order to better understand this formidable species. Only then can we determine the appropriate response." The council erupted in a chorus of protest, but Xelen raised his hand, silencing them once more. "I understand your concerns, esteemed councillors, but we cannot afford to act rashly, not in the face of such a powerful adversary. The humans have shown us that they are not to be underestimated. We must tread carefully, lest we invite the very conflict we seek to avoid." Reluctantly, the council members conceded to Xelen's proposal, recognizing the wisdom in his words. The Admiral's reputation, once marred by his failure, now began to shine anew as the Xulthar leadership grappled with the implications of their encounter with humanity. As the Xulthar fleet made its way back to their home world, Selen stood on the bridge of his flagship, his thoughts consumed by the humans and their remarkable display of power. He knew that the Empire would need to rethink its entire approach to this newfound species, and that the stakes had never been higher. "We have made a grave mistake in underestimating the humans," Selen murmured, his mandibles twitching with a mixture of trepidation and respect. "But I swear by the stars above that we shall never make that mistake again." With that, the Xulthar fleet disappeared into the vast expanse of space, leaving behind a world that had proven itself to be a worthy adversary and a potential ally if the Empire could learn to overcome its preconceptions and embrace the true power of humanity. The return of the Xulthar fleet to the Imperial homeworld was met with a mix of relief and trepidation. While the Council had reluctantly agreed to Xelen's proposal to withdraw and study the humans, The lingering sting of their perceived humiliation at the hands of the primitive species weighed heavily on the minds of the Xulthar leadership. As Xalen stepped before the council once more, he could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken demands for answers and accountability. Esteemed counselors, the Admiral began, his voice measured and steady. I understand your concerns, your desire for retribution against the humans, but I urge you to consider the gravity of the situation we now face. Counselor Cortesh, her talons drumming impatiently on the table, interrupted him. Consider? We have been made a laughingstock by these insignificant creatures. How can we simply let this insult go unanswered? Selin raised a clawed hand, silencing her. Because, Counselor, to do so would be to invite the very conflict we sought to avoid. The humans have demonstrated a level of technological and military prowess that far exceeds our initial assessments. To underestimate them again would be the gravest of errors. The council chamber fell silent, the weight of Xelen's words settling over the room. Counselor Vilren, a respected strategist, leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. Then what do you propose, Admiral? Surely we cannot simply allow this affront to our honor to go unchallenged. Xelen nodded solemnly. I understand your concerns, Counselor, but I believe the only course of action available to us is to study the humans, to learn everything we can about their technology, their society, and their motivations. Only then can we determine the appropriate response. The council erupted in protest, the Xulthar leaders unwilling to accept such a measured, cautious approach. But Xelen stood his ground, his mandibles twitching with determination. We cannot afford to act rashly, not when the very future of the Xulthar Empire hangs in the balance. The humans have shown us that they are a force to be reckoned with, and to underestimate them again would be the height of folly. Slowly, the council members began to reluctantly concede the wisdom in Xelen's words. The specter of another humiliating confrontation with the humans loomed large, and the Xulthar leadership knew they could not afford such a risk. Very well, Admiral, Counselor Vilren said, his voice tinged with resignation. We shall grant you the resources and the time you need to study this human species. But be warned, the patience of the Xulthar is not limitless. If you fail to provide us with a viable strategy to deal with this threat, we shall be forced to take matters into our own hands. Xelen nodded, his expression grave. I understand, Counselor. I give you my word that I will do everything in my power to ensure the safety and security of the Xulthar Empire. But I must impress upon you the gravity of the situation. The humans are not to be underestimated, and our very survival may depend on our ability to understand and adapt to their formidable capabilities. As the council meeting adjourned, Axelin could feel the weight of his responsibility pressing down upon him. The fate of the Xulthar Empire rested squarely on his shoulders, and he knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges and uncertainties. But he was determined to rise to the occasion, to ensure that the Xulthar never again made the mistake of dismissing the true power of humanity. In the wake of the Xulthar fleet's hasty retreat from Earth, the human leadership convened a series of emergency strategy sessions. The confrontation with the alien visitors had been a stark reminder of the fragility of their world, and the need to bolster their defenses against any potential threats. We can't afford to let our guard down, General Harrington said, his brow furrowed with concern. Those Xulthar may have withdrawn for now, but you can bet they'll be back, and they won't be happy about the little demonstration we put on. President Ellison nodded, his expression grave. I agree, General. We need to accelerate our military modernization programs and strengthen our global security infrastructure. The last thing we need is for these aliens to catch us off guard again. The assembled military and political leaders discussed a range of strategies, from fortifying key military installations to enhancing early warning systems and expanding the reach of their nuclear deterrent. The sense of urgency was palpable as they worked to ensure that humanity would be prepared for any future confrontation with the Xulthar Empire. Meanwhile, on the distant Xulthar homeworld, Admiral Xalen was immersed in a meticulous study of the human species. He had been granted the full resources of the Empire's research and intelligence networks, and he was determined to leave no stone unturned in his quest to understand this remarkable and potentially dangerous adversary. Xelen pored over reams of data, analyzing everything from the humans' technological capabilities to their social and political structures. He was particularly intrigued by their apparent resilience and ingenuity, traits that had allowed them to overcome the Xolthar's initial military advantage. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered before, the Admiral murmured, his mandibles twitching in contemplation. Their resourcefulness, their willingness to adapt and innovate, it is both impressive and deeply unsettling. As Zealand delved deeper into his research, he began to uncover disturbing patterns. The humans, for all their apparent technological and military prowess, were also a deeply divided species, plagued by a long history of conflict and strife. Yet, they had somehow managed to overcome these internal divisions in the face of a common threat, a trait that the Xolthar had sorely underestimated. They are a paradox, the Admiral mused, his eyes narrowing, capable of both great destruction and remarkable resilience. We cannot afford to underestimate them again. Selen's findings were presented to the Xolthar Council, and the reaction was a mix of fascination and trepidation. Some counselors argue for an immediate preemptive strike, while others advocated for a more cautious, diplomatic approach. We cannot risk another confrontation with the humans, Selen insisted, his voice firm. They have demonstrated a level of technological and military prowess that surpasses our own. To attack them now would be the height of folly. Counselor Cortesh, ever the firebrand, slammed her fist on the table, her eyes blazing with fury. And we are to simply accept this insult to our honor? To let these primitives defy us with impunity? Selen held up a clawed hand, silencing her. We must set aside our pride and our prejudices, counselor. The very survival of the Xolthar Empire may depend on our ability to understand and adapt to the humans. The council chamber fell silent, the weight of Selen's words hanging in the air. Slowly, one by one, the counselors began to nod in reluctant agreement. The Admiral had made his case, and the Xolthar leadership knew that they could no longer afford to underestimate the power of humanity. As the meeting adjourned, Hexilin felt a twinge of unease. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, and the fate of two civilizations now rested squarely on his shoulders. But he was determined to rise to the occasion, to ensure that the Xolthar would never again make the mistake of dismissing the true might of the human spirit. In the months that followed the Xolthar's hasty retreat from Earth, the human leadership worked tirelessly to bolster their defenses and prepare for the inevitable return of their alien adversaries. Across the globe, military budgets soared, and advanced weapons systems were rapidly deployed, all in the name of securing humanity's future. President Ellison, his brow furrowed with determination, addressed the United Nations General Assembly, outlining the threat posed by the Xolthar Empire and the need for global cooperation in the face of this extraterrestrial challenge. We stand at a crossroads, my fellow citizens of the world, he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. The Xolthar have shown us the true extent of their power, and we must be ready to meet that challenge head-on. United, we shall forge a future where humanity stands tall, unafraid and unshaken in the face of any adversary, be they of this world or beyond. His words were met with a resounding ovation, and within weeks, a global coalition had been formed, pledging resources, technology, and military might to the defense of the human homeworld. As the preparations continued, Admiral Xelin and his team of Xolthar researchers delved deeper into their study of humanity, uncovering a wealth of insights that both intrigued and unnerved them. These humans are a remarkable species, Xelin mused, his mandibles twitching in contemplation. Their ability to overcome their differences and unite in the face of a common threat is truly impressive. It is a trait that we Xolthar have often struggled to emulate. Counselor Vilren, who had been skeptical of Xelen's cautious approach, nodded slowly. And yet their internal conflicts and propensity for violence also concern me. Can we truly trust them to be reliable allies should we choose to forge a peaceful coexistence? Xelen considered the question, his eyes narrowing. That is the crux of the matter, counselor. The humans are a complex species, capable of both great good and great harm. We must tread carefully, lest we underestimate them once more. As the Xolthar deliberations continued, the human coalition began to put their newfound unity to the test. Vast military exercises were conducted, showcasing the full extent of their technological and strategic prowess. Cutting-edge weapons systems, once the realm of science fiction, were now deployed in a stunning display of force. When the Xulthar fleet finally returned to the human homeworld, they were met with a sight that left them both awestruck and deeply unsettled. Towering orbital defense platforms, armed with devastating energy weapons, hovered menacingly above the planet's surface. Squadrons of advanced fighter craft streaked through the skies, their presence a clear warning to any would-be aggressors. Selen, standing on the bridge of his flagship, felt a chill run down his spine. They have grown stronger, far stronger than we had anticipated. We cannot afford to underestimate them again. With a terse nod, the Admiral opened a communication channel, his voice steady and measured. Humans of Earth, we come in peace. We have studied your species, your technology, and your resolute spirit, and we now understand the grave mistake we made in underestimating you. We seek not conflict, but rather the opportunity to establish a peaceful coexistence, one built on mutual respect and understanding. The human leaders, their expressions grim, considered the Xulthar's proposal. After a tense moment of deliberation, President Ellison stepped forward, his voice firm. Admiral Xilin, we are willing to consider your offer of peace. But know this, should you or your people ever threaten the safety and security of our world, we will not hesitate to respond with the full force of our might. Humanity will not be cowed, not by any alien power, no matter how advanced. Xilin nodded, his mandibles twitching with a newfound respect for these remarkable creatures. Agreed, President Ellison. The Xulthar Empire will honor this pact, and we shall work tirelessly to ensure that our peoples may coexist in peace and prosperity. With that, the two civilizations began to forge a fragile alliance, one born of mutual understanding and a shared recognition of the true power of the human spirit. In the years that followed the historic encounter between the Xulthar Empire and the human civilization, the relationship between the two worlds underwent a profound transformation. What had once been a tense and potentially volatile standoff had blossomed into a cautious, yet increasingly fruitful alliance. Under the watchful eye of Admiral Xilin and President Ellison, the two sides worked tirelessly to build bridges of understanding and cooperation. Diplomatic delegations shuttled back and forth between Earth and the Xulthar homeworld, sharing knowledge, technology, and cultural insights. It is remarkable, the progress we have made, Xilin mused, his mandibles twitching with a hint of satisfaction. When we first arrived on your world, we were certain that a conflict was inevitable. Yet, through open dialogue and a willingness to understand one another, we have forged a path towards a future of peaceful coexistence. President Ellison nodded, a warm smile playing on his lips. Indeed, Admiral. The humans have much to learn from the Xulthar, just as you have much to learn from us. It is in our shared curiosity and respect for one another that we will find the keys to a brighter tomorrow. As the alliance deepened, the two civilizations began to collaborate on a wide range of projects, from scientific research to joint military exercises. The Xulthar, once wary of humanity's technological prowess, now marveled at the ingenuity and resourcefulness of their new partners. Your ability to adapt and innovate is truly remarkable, remarked Counselor Vilren, his eyes shining with a newfound respect. We Xulthar pride ourselves on our technological superiority, but in many ways, you humans have surpassed us. The human leaders, in turn, were fascinated by the Xulthar's vast knowledge of the cosmos and their mastery of interstellar travel. Slowly but surely, the walls of mistrust and fear began to crumble, replaced by a spirit of collaboration and mutual growth. As the years passed, the alliance between the Xulthar and the humans grew stronger, forging a lasting bond that would shape the course of galactic history. Together, they worked to address the challenges facing their respective civilizations, from environmental degradation to the threat of rogue factions and hostile alien powers. We have come a long way, my friend, Xilin said to President Ellison during one of their many meetings. When we first encountered your world, I never could have imagined that we would one day stand shoulder to shoulder, united in our quest for a brighter future. The human leader nodded, his eyes filled with a profound sense of hope. Nor could I, Admiral. But that is the true power of the human spirit, our ability to adapt, to overcome our differences, and to forge alliances that transcend the boundaries of our own worlds. In the years that followed, that Solfar and the humans would go on to collaborate on groundbreaking scientific and technological advancements, unlocking the secrets of the universe and paving the way for a new era of interstellar exploration and cooperation. And as they gazed out at the vast expanse of the cosmos, both Cylin and President Ellison knew that their initial encounter, fraught with misunderstanding and the threat of conflict, had ultimately led to a profound transformation, one that had not only reshaped the course of their own civilizations, but had the potential to change the very fabric of the galaxy itself.